so that you guys can actually take over. All right, welcome to the second half of our PD day. And it's a very quick one, like I said, and we're all learning everything, and it's going to be a deep dive. So, but we are so lucky to have two Googlers with us, Thomas Dixon. I think there's some people that might already know you because they might be like your neighbor. And then Danielle Pinta, who's coming to us from Chicago. Both of these folks are great. And we are so lucky to have them present this for us. They don't typically do this for school districts. So we are very special to have them and very lucky. And so I'm going to go ahead and let Thomas and Danielle introduce themselves.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. And really excited to be spending Friday morning with you all. Thanks for making time for us. My name's Tom Dixon. Everyone knows me, calls me TD, like touchdown or tiny dancer. So feel free to call me TD when you see me. I'm down in Santa Cruz, and I work with school districts all over North America, so Canada and US. And I've been with the Google for Education team for about 9 years now. And before that, I was a high school teacher in Chicago. So really looking forward to showing you guys a little bit about Gemini with my friend Danielle. I'll throw it over to you, Danielle.
Thanks, TD. Hey, everyone. Great to meet you. I am Danielle. I am the Google representative that typically works with Union School Districts. So if you ever have any technical questions, if you have a bug, if you have, I want to explore Gemini more, that's kind of where, I would work with Lisa, or you can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to answer questions or just help support you from a Google perspective. Really excited to be here, really excited to show off some of our tools, and yeah, looking forward to hopefully some questions today. So as we're presenting, definitely make sure if you have questions, let us know, flag us down, throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care, all of the above. So yeah, great to see everyone.
Awesome. So, Lisa, did you want to say anything else before I hop in?
I just wanted to say, so we have a wide variety of folks here who have used AI, have used ChatGPT over Gemini, and Gemini over ChatGPT. So we have, and then we have some people who've never used AI at all. So this is going to be like kind of a deep dive, but like I think we need to start off with, how did you get on to Gemini?
Totally. ChatGPT. I've never heard of that one. Interesting.
Yeah.
I kid. So for Gemini, all you have to do is just go to gemini.google.com, and it should take you to this beautiful page that'll pull up your Gemini app, is what we call this. And essentially, this is just your homepage for a Gemini chat. And you can see here, it gives you some suggestions as to where you can start. Down here, you'll see this is where you put your prompt. So this is just like, think of it as almost like your Google search place where you start your query. Another thing you can do is you'll see this tools button down here. And these are going to give you your different options. So, and I'm going to run through some of these for all y'all. But there's deep research. That's essentially your research assistant. You can create videos, which is kind of cool and fun. You can create images with something called Nano Banana. You can do Canvas, which is essentially our coding portion of the tool, which I'll show you through. Guided learning, which is a tutoring, personalized tutoring use of the tool. And then these things aren't quite out yet. These are just labs. But if you were just to enter, I don't know, can you tell me about Union School District in San Jose, California, you'll notice that what it starts to do is it's starting to connect to Google search. And essentially what it's doing is it's using our model to connect to the internet and getting information about your school district. And what it does is essentially it scours the web and it puts easy to understand information together for me and connects me with more information about it. How many of you have used the tool like this so far, or used a tool like this so far? Great, awesome. The most important thing is this is a very, very generic prompt, right? Like this is just tell me this one thing. The best way I've heard this described is like, remember those like function machines we used to have in math? Like you only get out what you put in. So you need to put strong prompts in to get strong results on the other side. And so a strong prompt is actually quite a bit lengthy at sometimes. It usually involves like a perspective, the information you're looking for, the context that you're looking for, and then also what's the output that you're looking for. So like, for example, I could ask Gemini, can you give me a fact sheet, for example, of like what Union School District is all about, just a one pager. And it would put that information in that format for me, which is fantastic. And that's really helpful for teaching. What I want to do is I want to show you some of the uses that I would use as a teacher. And I'm a dork. I'm a nerd. I grew up reading the Lord of the Rings trilogies. I'm currently reading The Hobbit with my sons. And one thing I was thinking is if I could go back and teach, I was a high school Spanish teacher. If I could go back and teach anything, I'd love to teach Tolkien to kids. And so I was thinking about how I could use these tools to kind of enhance my way of understanding the content. And so I'm going to go back to the home page just by hitting new chat.
Hey, TD, as you're doing this, one
Yeah.
thing that came to mind as you were presenting is I actually love using Gemini to refine my prompts. So sometimes if I don't entirely know what I'm searching for, because the world of generative AI can bring us so many wonderful things, I will just put a super simple prompt into Gemini and I'll say something like you said, tell me about Union School District. But I'll also say like, I want to make a prompt so that I'm finding out about how many students are at Union School District. How can I best make this prompt? And that's one of the things that I've been really playing around with when it comes to Gemini is just what are those keywords that I need to have in my prompts? And I actually think that Gemini does a really good job of kind of redirecting that sometimes. So I know that sounds like a very simple hack, but it's something that's helped me a lot lately.
So using your prompt to write a good prompt. Nice. So one of the things that if I was going to teach a lesson on J.R.R. Tolkien, is I'd want to understand his life and his influences. So if I want to go out and write and like really understand that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to tools. I'm going to go to deep research. And what deep research is, again, it's kind of like your personal research assistant. It's, man, I wish I had time to do all this work and scour the internet and come up with all this information. I'm just going to have Gemini do that for me. So I'm going to write, can you research, or please research, I like to say please, research the life and times of J.R.R. Tolkien. Please, please look for major influences and how life events impacted the themes and motifs in his work. And that seems like a pretty decent prompt to get started on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit submit. And right off the bat, what it's going to start to do, it's going to start to put together a research plan for me. And what's awesome about that is I can then decide if this is the right path, or I can go and I can edit this plan. Right now, it looks pretty good. It's going to go and establish a comprehensive chronological order of the overview of J.R.R. Tolkien's life, focusing on early childhood, education. It's going to look at major academic, linguistics, and mythological influences. Look at the World War I. I know that was a big part of his writing. So right now, I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm going to hit start research. And what you're going to see, it's going to go off to the races. It's going to start scouring the internet for all this information for me. Now, how long do you think this would actually take me to do in my normal day? Probably at least an hour, maybe 2 hours to go through and look through all this information, right? Now, what it's doing right now is it's actually, and it can show its thinking, it is structuring the research, it's going out, it's researching all these websites, it's now putting together biographical details, mapping the influences, and essentially what it's doing is it's going through researching and it's going to put together a research paper for me on all of this stuff. So instead of having to go to, I don't know, probably 50 different websites to collect this information, Gemini is doing this for me. Has anyone used this tool yet, Deep Research? This is one of my favorites because it's so powerful and it does it so quickly, and you see it summarizing it right now. Now, this usually takes about 5 minutes, so I'm not gonna take that time, but I've generated this last night, and this is what it came up with. And what's fantastic about this is that you can see it really breaks it down in terms of the history into different pieces of his life. It actually put together this awesome table of all of the Middle Earth elements, like the different people and the artifacts, the source language, the concept, and what the significance are. So like all this information structured really easily for me, all these thematic concepts that are broken down easily for me. And this is a pretty lengthy read. Honestly, these are all the websites that it scoured. So it'd probably take me a minute to go through this. And, you know, I could just export this into a doc. But what I love about this, and you all have access to this, is I can actually make a podcast style version of this. And this is called an audio overview. And essentially what this does is it builds a podcast version of this research paper that I can listen to. Has anyone explored this yet? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So this is mind-blowing. This is an awesome way to understand content on the go. It's also, I've seen it used in classrooms where you have, you'll create an audio overview of the history of someone or a concept and play it for the class because it's incredibly engaging. So this is deep research. And again, something that I find to be very powerful, really helpful in terms of getting a lot of information very quickly. And when I'm thinking about teaching and really making content relevant, I'm also thinking of what are some kind of fun ways to help students visualize. And so that's where I'm going to use Canvas. And so Canvas, I'm going to go back to new chat. Canvas is our coding tool. And so what's amazing about Canvas is you can build things that engineers build. Like really, I have no background in coding. I know a very tiny bit of coding, but I don't need to know that if I'm going to use Canvas. And so let's say that I know a big part of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings is traveling around Middle Earth. And this is that kind of fictional land of orcs and elves and all this. So what if I ask Gemini, can you make me a map of Middle Earth as presented in the Lord of the Rings trilogy? So what you're going to see, and again, you all have access to this today, is you're going to see it start to build code. This is code that would take somebody hours to write. You can see it off to the races. And what you're seeing is you're seeing it actually build a pretty preliminary version of what the map would look like. So right now they have little pieces of where Rivendell is, where the Shire is. Now, what's cool about it is you can go back and forth with this and say, you know what, can you actually build like mountains where where Isengard is, for example, or where where Minas Tirith is. And so I fooled around with it last night, and I was able to build this visualization that had different key places and locations from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You're able to, kind of zoom in and out. And then I asked it to update it with the path that Bilbo Baggins took. So this is the path which he took throughout the novel, so that I can help visualize with my students as to what this looked like geographically speaking. Which is really cool. Again, no background in coding. I was able to throw this together in moments. The last thing I want to show you before throwing it over to Danielle is, where is it? A gem. And so gems are essentially, you are building a persona. And so when you're creating a gem, this is what it looks like. You give it a name, you give it a description and instructions. And essentially what you're building is a chat buddy or a point of view that you want Gemini to act like. And so I was like, you know, what would be really cool if I could have students interact with the main character in The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins. And so what I did was on the back end, I was able to say, you're Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit who lives in the Shire. You've had many adventures for a hobbit. You traveled Middle-earth and saw all the different creatures, lands, people, and magic that exists. Bilbo has become a teacher of all things Middle-earth. This includes the geography, the cultures, and people, as well as many myths and legends of Middle-earth. As Bilbo, please enchant your students with tales from your adventures. Help them learn and appreciate the many wonders of Middle-earth. Now, what's awesome about this is, as you see as I go into the gem, I can say, good morning, Bilbo. And what it's going to do is it's going to act as if it were Bilbo Baggins because I've given it that direction. So it says, good morning to you. Ah, the air is crisp. The dew is fresh on the grass. A perfect morning for a bit of learning, don't you think? Come, sit down, make yourselves comfortable. We'll have a second breakfast soon enough. But first, let's wonder a little. I see curiosity in your eyes. You've heard the stories, of course, of Baggins running off for an adventure, which is quite unheard of. But it's all true. I left the comfort of Bag End. That's my cozy little hobbit hole up in Hobbit Hill. And before I knew it, I was well on the road and out of the Shire and into the wide, wonderful, and sometimes very scary world of Middle-earth. So again, what's awesome about this, totally interactive. Like I can ask it questions about the text that I'm reading, learn more about his understanding of Middle-earth, maybe understand the context of the novel and where it sits within the overall lore of Middle-earth. And what's amazing about this is I'm actually able to share this gem with students so that they can interact with this. So as a teacher, I'm creating this. I can actually share this in Google Classroom, or I can share this like a drive file with the students. Okay, that was a lot of information. Do you guys, it's hard for me to see, but Lisa, maybe you can help me. Are there any questions in the room that I can help answer before I hand it over to Danielle to show a little bit of the student experience?
We have a question.
Yeah.
If you share the gem with students, can you see how they're interacting with it?
Great question. Not yet. Not yet. That is something that we're working on, though.
I want to add that we can see that as the administrators in Google, correct?
Correct. You can see that in the admin console, but the teacher can't, unfortunately, as of today.
Can you repeat that first question?
I can repeat it back. I think the question was, can as a teacher, can you see how the students are interacting with the gem? So if they're talking with Bilbo Baggins, can you see how they're interacting with them on the back end? And the answer today is no, but Lisa, as the administrator, can see that history in the admin console.
Any other questions? The other way you can see how they're doing it is if you watch them on Securely Classroom, but you'd have to watch every student or one.
I have one here.
I love that people get to run up to the screen. This is great.
Can you double check that we have all of those settings on our Gemini, like the research and stuff like that? When I used it the other day, I didn't see all of those 5 options you have.
You won't see some of those 5 because they're not released yet.
Got it.
Those
Okay.
but you do have deep research, Canvas, and gems. Absolutely.
Okay.
Those 3 that I highlighted. Maybe I shouldn't have shown you guys those 2. One other thing I'll just call out is that one of the nice things about Gemini is it's grounded in Learn LM, which is our underlying model. And so if you start asking it inappropriate questions like, hey, where can I grab a cold beer, Bilbo? It should redirect me back. If you're looking for a good pint, you have a few choices, but so it's actually what's interesting is it's redirecting you to the text and asking you and bringing up, hey, the prancing pony is one of the ale houses in the book. So it's bringing you back to the content. Whereas there are some chatbots out there, I will tell you, that are like, oh, you can go to this local place and buy a beer, or here's 3 local marts by you.
I also want to add that when Sarah Jolene and I were playing with this, comparing it to Google under 13s. So there's Gemini for education, which is on Learn LM, but the one that you can pay for and get with a plain old Google account, they do have a U13 one, and that one is terrible. I mean, you can tell it anything and it gives you the graphic details. So the one good thing is we did try it. We did even say, you know, I'm depressed, I'm having these issues, and it actually gives you, you know, the content to talk to someone that you trust, find a trusted adult, other things like that. So we definitely asked it some pretty bad questions because we wanted to see that it was working correctly. Lisa Merkel.
We have a question.
I was wondering if we can create videos using like AI generated images with the prompts. Is that a feature?
Yes, you can. So you all have access to that Nano Banana thing I was talking about, which helps you create an image. And actually, I think Danielle's created an image for a portion of hers that's focused on the Boston Tea Party. And I can also create a video in Veo 3 for you guys to see as well while she's explaining that.
The videos are a little crazy to see. It's we made one of our colleague, and it really looks like he's speaking. So I think that especially when it comes to digital citizenship and being able to, you know, redirect students when it comes to some of the tools that they have access to, that's definitely one area that we're really thinking about. Was there any other questions before I kind of dive into the last part here?
I think TD needs to let go of his screen so you can have it.
I'll just take it over.
Sorry, one more question here.
Yeah.
Teachers work together and brainstorm using Gemini and generate plans. Is there a way for us to collaboratively see the prompting? Just because I see that that's critical to what shows up on Gemini, and I think it's important for us to share that creative planning. I haven't seen it anywhere. Are there plans to incorporate that?
Yes, so that's a great question. You're teeing it up. It's like we plan to do in the audience. So Gemini, we actually just released gem sharing. And so what TD was showing in kind of building a gem and having it be that experience where you're almost like in the Hobbit, you can share those gems across your domain. So you can share it with other teachers. In terms of like in your individual instance of Gemini and actually being able to like share the specific prompts, your best bet would be to kind of go through the gems. But I have seen some districts like create guides or best practices around like this gem was, or this prompt was really great in order for us to create this lesson or things like that. So those are kind of the two options. Obviously, one's a little bit more built into the platform than the other.
So to clarify, I'm just sharing the gem that I've created. I'm not necessarily recreating or re-editing the prompts as I go along. Is that correct?
Right. So you would actually go ahead and you can build out the architecture behind the gem. And I can show you another gem so we can go through this process again. But you would actually just build out the gem and then you can share that gem with others in your district, including.
So I think the question is like, can you iterate together on the gem, right? And the answer is yes. So
yes.
if you give them, what's cool about gems now is they're like a drive element. So if you give someone edit access to a gem, they can actually work on that gem with you and help to, I don't know, build it out further, which is really cool.
Yeah, let me let me actually show you that in practice. So earlier today, as TD and I were kind of thinking about what we wanted this to look like for all of you, TD actually shared a gem with me. So as I'm going in my gems manager here, again, sorry, I kind of just went straight to it, but gemini.google.com. I'm on the same website that TD was on. I just go ahead and on my left-hand side of the screen, I click my gems and it brings me over to this gem manager. Cool thing about the gem manager is it actually has some pre-made options if you wanted to be able to go and see those. But specifically what I'm looking for here is my shared with me gems. So I can see that this Boston Tea Party or gem was actually shared with me by TD. And I can go ahead then and I can share it again, just similar to how I'd share like a doc sheets, slides file. And I can actually edit the gem as well. So it actually brings me to all of what TD put in here. And I believe, getting into the nitty gritty a little bit, but I believe that if I did go ahead and edit this, this would edit the gem for anybody else who is using it. Does that visual help a little bit?
Yeah, I was just gonna, it's super powerful because you see the metacognition behind that planning and thinking, so that next time when I generate a gem, I become more powerful because I saw how somebody else edited the initial gem. That makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. I know we have like 5 minutes left here, so I'll just go ahead and show kind of from a student standpoint how I'm thinking about how some of these tools can be used. So in this scenario, I was thinking about a 6th grade student learning about the Boston Tea Party and what I can do using Gemini to be able to help increase my learning. And so similar to a lot of the tools that TD used, things like deep research, things like Canvas, being able to utilize those from a student perspective as well can create some really great assets. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is, this would not be from the student perspective, but just wanted to throw this out there. From a teacher perspective, if you wanted to create a lesson plan, I just went ahead and said, create a lesson plan for the Boston Tea Party for 6th grade students. And I can go ahead and I can, based on this, then also create like a web page or an infographic, quiz, flashcards, audio overview, similar to what TD showed. But it also gives you the materials and the procedures. So like how long this lesson would take and how long you should spend on the different components. It gives me some visuals and it gives me an activity I can do with students. So it's pretty, it's pretty expansive in terms of what it offers and really looking to level it at the right grade for students. The next thing I will show is, I should have named these different, so I apologize. Oh, this is our custom gem. So in the scenario, you could actually go ahead and create a custom gem so that it actually replicates a conversation like you're talking to somebody who was around during the Boston Tea Party. So that gem that I was showing you that TD made, we called this the Boston Tea Partier. And I just said, hey, what is your name? And huzzah, I'm Josiah, a humble shoemaker here in Boston and a proud son of liberty. So you can see it kind of plays around with, you know, different tones, different personas. And I can go ahead and say, where were you during the Boston Tea Party? And it'll go ahead and answer me based on the information that I put into the gem and the persona that I'm ultimately giving this. So I was where every true son of liberty ought to be, aboard one of those accursed vessels, helping to send King George smuggled poison to a watery grave. So kind of fun with the language. But this is a really great opportunity, like as you're thinking about building that lesson, creating a gem so that the students can then interact with it. And then another thing that might be really helpful from a student perspective is actually using Canvas to build an infographic. This is what TD showed with his example as well, but this is cool because you can actually go ahead and you can narrow in on the different events that have happened in this infographic, and it'll actually do like a little pop-up and show you more about what the Stamp Act is. One of the cool things that I find about this as well is there is a way to use Gemini to continue to refine your answers. So if you wanted to ask the historian, if you had more questions about this infographic, if you wanted to add in, maybe you wanted it to be a bit more interactive, you can go back and kind of re-prompt it. And so from a student perspective, you can really go ahead and almost kind of create more of that visual representation of the lesson that you're trying to learn. With that being said, I know we're at time. Sorry, there's a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time, but I wanted to pause quickly, see if there were any additional questions, and yeah, I'll stop there.
Danielle, will you show the image that you created using Nano Banana?
I will absolutely show the image that I created using Nano Banana. It's very funny. Let me figure out where it is here.
And Lisa Merkel has a question too.
I was wondering if that gem conversation you were having with the Tea Partier, can you make that into a podcast?
Yeah, you totally could. Let's see. I believe you can. Let's play around with that. So the Boston Tea Partier.
Interview podcast.
Okay,
I don't believe you can in Gemini right now.
Oh,
If it was deep research, you could, but not necessarily in the with a gem yet.
You could copy it though and put it into Notebook LM.
You could.
yeah.
And so that's that you could totally do that, put it in Notebook LM and have the interactive podcast. I think you guys have probably heard of this in Notebook LM. There's a kind of like radio call-in where like you can interrupt a podcast and be like, excuse me, I have some specific questions about this Boston Tea Party you speak of. Like, can you tell me a little bit about taxation? And it will pivot the entire conversation to that. So it's like literally calling into a radio show, stopping the podcast, and the whole podcast shifts gears.
That's cool.
This was the picture I had made earlier as we were playing around with the Boston Tea Party. I had to bring my 2 dogs with me to the Boston Tea Party, obviously.
Okay, time for one more question and then we have to move on. Unfortunately, we have so much stuff today. I told them they were drinking from the fire hose.
So we were looking at podcasts too, because something we were doing with our kids just went subscription based. We don't have free access anymore. So we had heard Gemini did podcasts. We were just playing around with it to see if we had a script. Is there a way it would just record the MP3, like make an MP3 of that script that it generates? And it like telling us that it kind of does it. And it's something that maybe using text to speech, but we didn't get it to work.
You copy it into LPM.
Yeah, so I think, or just as like an after meeting, it would be great to learn how to do those steps to create our own podcast.
Great.
Sure.
We can totally do that. We can make a Monday PD out of that.
Awesome, that would be fantastic.
And if y'all have any questions, I know this stuff is like very new and it's moving quickly. It's changing quickly. If you guys have any questions, I'm sure Lisa's great at reaching out and asking for, support. She's also quite an expert herself. So feel free to always reach out to us. We're happy to help. We're really educators at heart too. So like, we want to make sure you guys have all the tools to use these tools effectively. So.
And I'll also say too, we talked a lot about Gemini.google.com today. We also have Notebook LM. We also have classroom integration. So this is really, to Lisa's point, just kind of the beginning of drinking out of the fire hose. There's a lot more that you can do with it. And if you have additional questions, I'll make sure Lisa has my email. Feel free to reach out and we're always happy to help support.
Thanks so much for having us, everybody.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that we got to have 2 amazing Googlers on our call. I am such a fan of both of you. So thank you. And I will talk to you both soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye,
No
everyone.
problem. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, the next thing we're going to go to is factors, and I see that Abe is on, so I'm so happy about that. But first, let me go back to my screen share that I was on. Sorry. So factors is something we've bought for everyone, and it is really a cool setup that you can use for coming up with specific lesson plans. So when I go to factors.world, and this is just their free version, the paid version, you'll get an invite from me next week. And it does look a little bit different, but I just figured I'd show you the free version right now. And then when you see the paid version, you're gonna be like, whoa, this is totally different, and it's more thorough, so, and more capabilities, because you can actually ask your kids to participate, and it's pretty neat. So I'm just going to go back to the Boston Tea Party. Come on, let me on here. And I covered 5th grade, not 6th grade. And I'd like it to be interactive, fun, and include role playing. Okay, so I'm going to create this now. So it's starting to create, and then it's going to start asking me things about my classroom. So how much time do I have for this lesson? I'm just going to say I have 60 minutes. And then we have 1-to-1. And then what is my of a traditional classroom? What is the typical engagement level? I'm going to say it's low, because I don't know how many kids are excited about the Boston Tea Party. And then what curriculum framework? It'll be Common Core. So we can submit those answers. It's a little slow, sorry. So here's the lesson roadmap, and it will keep creating more things. You'll start seeing stuff on the right. So it gives us the overall objective. It gives us the standard. It gives us a portrait of the graduate, which portrait of the graduate is really for us, it's like 4 C's and, future ready skills, basically. And then lesson segments. So there's activity 1, where students will explore the root causes by analyzing colonial grievances and British policies through a role-playing activity. The second activity is developing solutions to a tea tax crisis from multiple historical perspectives. And then the third activity is students will reflect on their learning experience and connect the Boston Tea Party to modern issues of taxation, representation, and peaceful protest. And then it's going to say, did I think I need anything? I don't want to improve anything. It was beautiful. I'm going to ask it to give me all of the materials. And what will happen here is it's going to start creating all the things that you're going to need to throw into classroom. So this is the mystery box activity that, and I'll expand it just so you can see it. It's going to keep bringing me back to that, but you can export it as a PDF. You can see all of the materials, and everything will be in here. And when you look at this activity, so this is activity 1, we can actually see for the Tea Party, the worksheet that has the information. It has a role-playing decision worksheet, and then it has an exit ticket. But all of these 3 things that are in the roadmap include the 3 different lessons. So it provides all of these lessons for you through vetted resources, all in open education resources. And then it does do some other not so stringently educational ones. So they also actually have esports ways to integrate the esports program for the 2 esports clubs that we have. It's just amazing what they can do in this. And so there's all the materials. It basically gives you a summary, and I can go into each and export it as a PDF, and then you'll see, I'm going to just cancel that. You can see everything on the PDF, and there's the answer key to the different questions that it's asking up here. So again, you don't want to publish that part, but you want to look at it and then see what you want to put in your Google Classroom. The newer version that we paid for actually automatically connects to your Google Classroom. It's really cool, and it will remember things about the students in that class, and it'll show you a graphic like different data points for you to see, like this person doesn't have internet at home, just this person really likes Taylor Swift, etc. So that said, I'm going to go to our next one, which is, and again, you'll get this whole thing, this whole slide deck today afterwards, and this afternoon probably. And yeah, so blocking AI on Securely Classroom. This is the thing that a lot of people are asking, and it is definitely possible to do this. You can go to Securely Classroom, and in Securely Classroom, you're going to create a blocking plan. And when you do this, and again, these directions are great, select the manual option and enter this. I also made the URLs you can block. So this is going to be available to all of you. And so if you look at it, it's got a ton of AI choices. And you can use that in your block to make sure that you're blocking this. For this, we can also do another Securely Classroom visit from Securely. They did do a Monday PD that was not very highly attended, but I would love for you all to, see that. So, and then I think Abe is going to talk about some things. And do you want to actually bring up the slides or something that you want to share?
Yeah, I have some slides. I'm gonna share my screen. Wish me luck. Hi, everybody.
Are we muted or not?
No, some of you are.
Okay, we'll stop talking about Joyce.
All right. I am going to talk about ethical data practice, balancing insight and privacy with AI. So one of the things that I like most about AI is the ability to analyze data and make things sort of easier to understand and more actionable. So I'm going to do something that's probably not recommended. I am going to, on a Friday before a 3-day weekend, I'm going to combine AI with talking about the KDS to a bunch of 4th through 8th grade teachers. I know not everybody's favorite. So my thought with this was, can I make the KDS data more usable through AI? So I started with data from a single 7th grade class. It's a math, the math pre. I downloaded all the data from the Performance Matters item analysis. I then anonymized the data for student privacy and ran an analysis through Gemini. It's a little bit convoluted, so I'm going to take you through each step. I was not brave enough to do this live, so I did it last night and took screenshots just in case something didn't work. So let's start here. So this is the raw data. Like some of you are familiar with this. If you go to your KDS results, and you download something, you'll see something like this. Lisa, don't worry, these names are fake. I had Gemini make fake names and student ID numbers, so we're good. I then took this and put it into Sheets. Oh man, I was so careful that there wouldn't be any problems.
It may just want you to go to the sheet.
No, it's a screenshot. It's a picture.
Oh.
All right. Well, there's a step in there, and then I anonymized it. So I did two things here. You see on the top, I had to add this, and this is a little bit complicated. If anybody's curious about this, we can talk about it. But I added the standards here because for some reason, when you download the KDS data, it doesn't include the standard for the question, but that information is in Performance Matters. And then I instead of the student ID, I deleted the names, and for student ID, I put 1 through 31. You could also just delete the names if you're not really interested in individual student performance and you just wanted to see sort of trends. And I've done that with school-wide and district-wide stuff. And then once I have this nice anonymous data with no PII, I made a little key for myself to show me which student is what number for future reference. And then I asked Gemini, I uploaded the data, and I said, based on this data, what were the 3 highest and lowest performing standards? And Gemini told me. It gave this, again, this would not have been the most challenging thing for me to figure out. And even as a math teacher, I don't know what these are. I don't know what CA, MA, 7, NS, 2C is. So I asked it to get more specific. And I said, create a table that summarizes the 3 highest and lowest standards and describes the standard. And it made me a nice table. And now I have a little bit of context. And I can kind of see, okay, this is where, my students are already having some success. These are some areas that, might need a little extra attention. But I wanted to make this, in my experience, we collect a lot of data as teachers, formative assessment, all kinds of stuff. And I think one of the more challenging things as educators is using that data to quickly make changes in your instruction, to like adjust your day-to-day teaching based on some of this stuff. Like I was good at collecting it, but I always could have been better at using it in meaningful ways. So this is, and again, just a very simple example, but I started with this, the highest standard. And I asked Gemini, I said, give me a list of the students who did not meet that highest standard, right? And it spit out a nice little list. So one-on-one, like with each standard, it wouldn't have been super challenging to go through KDS, but even as a math guy, like the KDS data, when you look at the raw data, it's a little overwhelming, right? So this was a way that I found to get sort of meaningful data targeted to individual students while also maintaining, their privacy. I would say this is especially important if you're not using Gemini. We have an agreement with Gemini. We have a license that they won't use our information. I was told not to mention any other, AI, but if you're using other AI, like especially make sure, you're doing this because we want to protect our students' privacy. And then just some tips, try stuff. I use AI more and more. I keep thinking about, I think the more you use it, the more you're going to think of different ways that it can help you. This doesn't mean like use it for everything. Like our keynote speaker was saying this morning, I think you have to make choices of when to use it and when not. But I think the more you are willing to try it, you can really come up with some really beneficial ways to use it. Whenever I try something and it doesn't work, I did ask the AI to help me. And that's been super powerful. It even helps me with when stuff around my house breaks. I just say, how do I fix my, whatever. It's very good for that. And then err on the side of caution when using PII, you know, as you know. And then the last thing is like, you are the expert. I did a similar data analysis with the DMS ELA team, and it was like school-wide, and I was sharing it. And Shelly Crocker, I'll throw you out here. You said, she goes, one of these things, one of the standards that was identified as the lowest, she looked at the list and she goes, this doesn't make any sense. This should not be the lowest, right? And then we looked into it, and it was one of those KDS questions that's like pick two or pick, you know, select all of the answers that, you know, are, and the question itself was either poorly written or just extra challenging, and that was the problem, not the content. And I thought that was a really good illustration of like AI can get you like some basics, right? It can get you kind of like 80%, but like you're the expert, right? She was able to identify that. So she's not going to, just because AI said, oh, I'm going to like spend extra time on this standard. She knew, because she knew her students, like, oh, I'm going to ignore this piece, but maybe the rest of it is somewhat useful, and I'll use it from there. So that's what I got.
Perfect.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. I'm going to go back to my slide deck. Sorry. So again, I'll send you this list of ways to block securely. PII and AI, one is, no matter what AI platform you use, even though Google says don't, you know, they won't use our data, they won't use our data to train another large language model. Sorry. They won't use it to train their AI, but they will use it because they're Google. So you still have to keep the PII out. And if you need a reminder of what PII is, the video that was in our PD about PII is on here. And again, you will get this slide deck later. And then that was this. The other thing I wanted to add was that you will be looking for Monday PD offerings for Factors and Gemini training. We can do data anonymization. We could do other things. There is an AI resources website that I've created that has more about AI and education for teachers and for families. We will be having a family night about AI in November. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to break out into groups of 3 to 4 in your rooms, and you're going to your principal or assistant principal in the room is going to have some questions for you, and you guys are going to discuss it. The principals will be taking notes, as well as the site techs will be taking notes if they're needed. And again, I will be sending out a separate survey as well to find out exactly what PD offerings you want and what training you want. And hopefully you have a great time collaborating with your grade level teams and your subject matter teams. I think this is a rare opportunity to have all of your grade levels or your subject area levels in one room. So reach out to me if you need any help. I'm gonna basically close this, and thank you so much for giving it your all again. Breathe. I appreciate you all so much. And I have been teaching a 5th grade class every other Friday with Todd Sinclair, and getting kids to learn about critical AI, not just using AI or social media for fun. And they are so into it. And it's really neat to see them kind of making their own opinions about how media balance and social media and big tech is really making them commodities. And it's just a really beautiful thing for these 5th graders to come up with these ideas. And so they'll be using some of our AI software to learn this. And so there are 4 things that we are piloting in the district. One is Journify, which is for SPED. We have Factors, which all teachers get a license, and you'll get that invitation next week. And Gemini, which comes with our Google for Education Plus licensing, and then Lumi Story, which is a pilot still this year with about 500 students in the middle schools. So if you have any questions, again, reach out, and we are going to throw it back to the principals in the room. And please enjoy, and thank you